we've all been in that room, right? Like maybe it's a corporate boardroom or a neighborhood association meeting, or honestly, just standing in line at the grocery store.
Oh, yeah, totally. Just anywhere with people.
Right. And you watch someone actively demanding respect. Like they're puffing out their chest, kind of throwing their weight around.
Waving their title in everyone's face.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
They are essentially demanding that the people around them treat them with dignity.
Yeah.
And if you look around that room, you notice people nodding. I mean, they comply.
Right. They step aside or they just bite their tongues.
Yeah, but you can feel the actual temperature of the room, like the absolute lack of genuine respect. It's such a profoundly common human experience, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Watching that friction between someone who holds a title and someone who actually commands a room.
It's a very distinct dynamic, yeah.
So today, we are taking a deep dive into a framework that completely deconstructs that dynamic. We are looking at this highly philosophical, really unflinching essay from November 14th, 2022. It's written by Sufeng.
And the title alone really sets the tone.
It really does. The title is Strength is the Guarantee of Dignity.
Mm.
And our mission here today is to unpack a set of ideas that just completely throws out the conventional playbook, like how we usually think about respect, power, human dignity. It replaces all of that with something that feels, I don't know, much closer to the raw mechanics of human interaction.
Yeah, it's a really bracing read, mostly because it treats these incredibly nebulous concepts, dignity, respect, almost like laws of physics.
Right.
The framework we're exploring today, it doesn't really deal in what we might wish the world looked like, or the polite fictions society relies on,
But we rely on a lot.
We do, but this text attempts to describe the underlying, just immutable logic of how validation and authority actually operate in the human mind.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because the text, it doesn't wander into the topic. It builds a foundation right from the very first sentence.
Yeah.
Like, to understand how to achieve dignity, the argument requires us to first just strip away all our preconceived notions of what dignity actually means.
Yeah, the baseline established here is surprisingly stark.
Mm-hmm.
Living with dignity is framed as a fundamental instinctive desire. For all human beings, we all inherently seek it. But the definition of possessing it, it's stripped down to a super simple binary.
Which is?
You are respected and you are not insulted by others. That's it. The argument is that if no one dares to insult you, that alone is the empirical proof that you have dignity.
Wow.
And conversely, if you lack respect and find yourself, frequently bullied or dismissed, that is the proof that you possess none.
I mean, that is an uncompromising starting point, and that leads directly into the central equation of the entire piece, which basically drives everything else we're going to talk about today.
Mm-hmm.
The claim is absolute. Dignity comes entirely from strength.
Right. No strength equals no dignity.
Exactly. And it also introduces a scaling factor. The more powerful the strength, the higher the value of the dignity.
Yeah, the correlation presented is a direct one-to-one relationship. The volume of respect you receive from the people around you depends entirely on the volume of your own strength.
You can't separate the two in this framework.
Not at all.
Which brings us to the part of the source material that initially made me stop and literally reread the paragraph entirely. Because to illustrate who has dignity as a result of their strength, the essay presents this incredibly jarring, eclectic list of figures.
Oh, the list is wild.
It is. We're talking about the King of Hell, Nobel Prize winners, Bill Gates, Elon Musk, and the President of the United States.
Yeah, sitting the King of Hell next to a Nobel laureate is it's a choice.
Right. It makes you immediately question the premise. I mean, if the King of Hell is on the list of entities with dignity, it sounds like we were just talking about being terrified of someone. So what does this all mean? Is this just arguing that that being a cosmic mob boss is the ultimate goal here?
Well, that reaction is entirely natural when you look at that specific lineup. The immediate assumption is that, strength equates to brute force or intimidation or the capacity for violence. And what's fascinating here is the text pivots sharply away from that assumption.
Oh, so?
It redefines strength in a way that is far more nuanced. It explicitly rejects the idea that strength is about bullying or being aggressive. Instead, strength is defined as a kind of potential energy.
Oh, potential energy, like in the physics sense. Stored energy.
Exactly.
So it's like the boulder sitting at the absolute peak of a mountain. It doesn't actually have to be rolling down the hill, crushing things to be intimidating.
Right.
Just its position, its mass, its capacity that commands a profound awareness and respect from anyone standing below it. It is a coiled spring. It doesn't have to snap to be powerful.
That is a perfect way to visualize it. The text describes this potential energy as an internal capacity that is inherently daunting and naturally commands respect.
An internal power.
Yeah. And crucially, the argument emphasizes that this power cannot be won through quarrels or squabbles or throwing tantrums. If a person is arguing, shouting, and squabbling to get their way, they aren't displaying strength.
They are displaying a lack of it.
Exactly. They're actively displaying a deficit of strength. They are trying to manufacture kinetic energy because they lack the potential energy.
That distinction is so critical, because if strength is not aggressive, chest-thumping dominance, we really have to look closely at what it isn't in order to truly grasp what it is. We have to untangle actual strength from the illusion of societal status.
Yes, which is so hard to do.
Right, because we are conditioned by society to chase the promotion, the title, the corner office. We just assume the dignity comes with the placard on the door.
But the framework completely severs that connection. It argues that strength has absolutely nothing to do with status. Status is external, but strength is internal.
That makes a lot of sense.
The observation made about human nature here is very sharp. It notes that when a person possesses high status but lacks internal strength, people will still nod. They'll bow. They will flatter that person and take great care not to offend them.
Sure, out of self-preservation.
Exactly. But, and this is the psychological reality the text leans on, those same people may secretly despise that high-status individual in their hearts.
Because they are complying with a hierarchy, not respecting a human.
Precisely.
We see this dynamic constantly. I mean, think about the workplace. You can have a vice president of a department who has the title, the salary, the authority to fire people. And everyone smiles at them in the hallway.
Oh, of course.
But the person everyone actually respects, the person everyone goes to when the project is falling apart, it's often like a mid-level engineer who just understands the system better than anyone else. The VP has status, but the engineer has the actual strength.
Yeah, the source material provides stark evidence for this dynamic. It points to soldiers pointing guns at civilians or cruel officials using their administrative power to suppress people.
The gun and the political office guarantee compliance.
Right. People will do what they are told. But in their hearts, they do not respect those soldiers or those cruel officials. The essay even takes one of its earlier examples, the president, and applies the same logic to it.
Which is really interesting.
It asserts that even if someone manages to become the president of a country, if they lack actual internal strength, the public will ultimately ridicule and despise them behind their backs. The title cannot protect them from that reality.
So just to be clear for the listener, we're not endorsing any specific political view here. We're just reporting what the source text is using to illustrate its point.
Oh, absolutely. The text is just using it as an example of ultimate status versus internal substance.
Right. The title of president does not grant dignity. The internal capacity of the person holding the title does. And to illustrate this separation between external maneuvering and internal reality, the text uses this analogy that explains the mechanics beautifully.
I love this analogy.
It compares strength to physical immunity.
The immunity metaphor is basically the linchpin for understanding the practical application of these ideas.
It clarifies the concept instantly. The essay points out that strength has absolutely nothing to do with interpersonal relationships, just as your biological immunity has no bearing on interpersonal relationships.
Right.
Like, you cannot acquire genuine strength by flattering people or fawning over them or engaging in these self-demeaning behaviors just to project the image of being a good person or a team player.
Yeah, you can't sweet-talk your immune system into fighting off a virus.
Exactly. You can't take your white blood cells out to lunch, buy them a drink, and schmooze them into working harder for you. Your immunity either exists as a result of your internal physiological health or it does not.
It's purely internal.
Right. And the argument here is that the exact same mechanic applies to your dignity. You cannot people-please your way into genuine respect.
Looking at the psychology behind that, it fundamentally changes how we view validation. The text is pointing out that respect is an expression of emotion from the human heart. You cannot mandate an emotion. A rigid hierarchy, a strict boss, or a cruel official, they can mandate behavior. They can force the bow, the nod, the immediate response to a late-night email.
Right, the compliance.
Yeah. But they cannot force the internal emotional state of respect. That emotion is only triggered involuntarily when the human mind encounters genuine internal strength in someone else.
You cannot mandate an emotion. That is the core dilemma for anyone demanding respect in that boardroom we talked about earlier.
Right.
So if we strip away the titles and we eliminate the networking, the schmoozing, the people-pleasing, we are left with a very obvious question.
How you actually get it.
Exactly. How does a person actually build that internal capacity? How do you construct this immunity? The text provides a remarkably specific roadmap for developing this internal strength.
It does. It's a progression that moves from the internal out into the world. The first element the essay focuses on is learning. It describes this phase as accumulating rich connotations.
Okay, let's translate that phrasing, accumulating rich connotations, because it sounds a bit academic, right?
It does, yeah.
In the context of a word, a connotation is the feeling or the layer of meaning that word invokes beyond its literal definition. Applied to a human being, it means building internal layers, substance, depth of character.
It's the silent internal resume of your life's learning.
I love the quote the text uses here. It says, "One who is filled with knowledge always behaves with elegance."
That's a great line.
It really is. It implies that true learning physically changes your posture in the world. It's not just memorizing trivia to sound smart at dinner parties, right? It is an internal richness that naturally projects a quiet confidence.
But that internal substance is just the prerequisite. It cannot remain purely internal. The progression then moves from learning to practice.
Okay.
The phrasing used is embodying one's own connotation with realistic images. In practical terms, this means pulling that internal knowledge out of your head and turning it into reality. It requires translating abstract learning into concrete action.
You have to do something with it.
Exactly. The text is adamant that strength is earned by actions, not by words. A person cannot accumulate strength through mere talk or theoretical debate.
You actually have to do the thing. You can read 100 books about architecture and understand all the underlying physics and aesthetics.
But until you actually draft a blueprint that holds up a building,
Exactly. You haven't manifested strength. And that transitions directly into the final element of this progression, which is application. Specifically, the application of your practice to benefit others.
right.
The formula provided is entirely utilitarian. The more people have benefited from your actions, the stronger the proof of your strength, and consequently, the greater the respect you gain.
The volume of the benefit dictates the density of the respect. But what makes this framework particularly compelling is how it defines that benefit. It does not limit actions that benefit others to grand historical gestures.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Because when you initially hear a phrase like strength is the guarantee of dignity, and you are primed with examples like Elon Musk, Bill Gates, the president.
It's very easy to assume this entire philosophy is reserved for billionaires and world leaders.
Right, or historical icons. But when the text lists the actual everyday ways a person develops strength through their actions, it reveals a deeply democratic and accessible philosophy. It explicitly states that the more skilled you are, the more powerful you are. And the list of skills it provides is staggering in its range.
The juxtaposition of the examples is highly intentional.
It asserts that you gain strength if you play the flute well, if you play the erhu well.
Yeah.
It explicitly says you gain strength if you grow vegetables well,
Yeah.
if you do a good job of cleaning and sanitary work, if you produce high-quality products, if you teach well.
It places the mastery of those everyday tasks on the exact same continuum as incredibly high-stakes life-or-death scenarios.
In the very same breath as growing vegetables and cleaning, the essay lists treating diseases, saving lives in a timely and effective manner, lending a helping hand at critical moments, or making vigorous efforts to turn the tide of a massive crisis. It literally equates the dignity earned by saving a human life with the dignity earned by growing vegetables with immense skill and care.
The underlying logic for that equivalence is that the mechanism generating the respect is identical.
How so?
Well, whether a person is turning the tide of a global crisis or meticulously executing sanitary work in a hospital, they have engaged in the exact same process. They have learned a skill, they have put it into rigorous practice, and they are using that mastered skill to benefit the people around them.
They're manifesting pure competence.
Exactly.
This requires a massive shift in perspective, though. To adopt this framework means completely abandoning the definition of strength as dominance or control or superiority over others.
Right.
It redefines strength entirely as competence, skill, and service. Under this logic, the person doing the cleaning work with immense undeniable skill possesses far more genuine strength and therefore commands more genuine involuntary respect than the cruel official demanding everyone bow to them.
The cleaner has potential energy, the official just has a title.
Yeah.
It strips away all the artificial markers of success, wealth, fame, political leverage, and looks only at the raw output of human competence. It levels the playing field entirely.
So we have established that strength is heavily tied to what you do, your skills, your actions, the tangible ways you serve the world. But the essay takes one final step. It expands the framework from what you do to who you fundamentally are.
Right, it moves from competence to character.
Let's talk about that.
The addition of character is crucial because it binds the entire philosophy together. The text asserts that having an excellent character is, in itself, a direct manifestation of human strength.
Yeah.
It states clearly that if a person possesses an excellent character, they will naturally be respected by people and live a dignified life.
Which tracks perfectly with the progression of learning, practice, and benefiting others. If a person is constantly engaged in that cycle, always learning, always refining their actions to be more useful to the people around them, that repetition inevitably shapes their internal character.
Yeah, the character itself becomes that potential energy we discussed earlier.
Just being in the presence of someone with deeply forged, excellent character commands respect, even if they aren't actively doing anything in that moment.
This raises an important question, which the essay itself poses right at the end. After navigating through these wildly varied examples, from the King of Hell to Nobel laureates to growing vegetables to possessing an excellent character, the text stops and asks, so what exactly is strength?
It forces a synthesis of everything we have unpacked today.
It does, and the ultimate answer provided is profound in its simplicity. It says, any connotation and quality that a person possesses that can win people's respect comes from strength.
It closes the loop.
It really does. Strength is not a weapon to be wielded against the world to extract compliance. It is an internal quality of excellence.
Any connotation and quality that can win people's respect. That naturalizes the concept of respect entirely. It frames respect as something that you emit through your own excellence, rather than something you extract from other people through demands or manipulation.
Exactly. As long as one has strength, the text concludes, they will live with dignity. Without it, they cannot.
While the delivery of the essay is blunt, the resulting framework is deeply empowering. I mean, a person cannot control what title their boss decides to bestow upon them.
Right.
They cannot control the societal hierarchy they were born into, and they can't always control whether someone attempts to insult them. But they have absolute, total control over their own learning.
They control their own practice.
They control the quality of the metaphorical vegetables they choose to grow.
They control the cultivation of their own internal immunity.
Which brings us full circle on this deep dive. Let's summarize the mechanical shift we have explored in Sufeng's essay. We started with the universal baseline. Everyone wants to be respected and free from being bullied.
Right.
But the argument completely dismantles the idea that dignity is a given right, a political office, or a title you can wear. It is a one-to-one reflection of your internal strength.
And that strength is not about aggression or quarreling or forcing compliance.
It is the potential energy of a coiled spring. It's earned purely through rigorous competence, through action, through tangible service to others, and through the forging of an excellent character.
The persistent trap is the illusion of status. A hierarchy can force people to bow to a title, but the human mind only involuntarily gives genuine respect to actual competence and character.
You cannot flatter your immune system into fighting a cold, and you cannot fake or demand your way to genuine dignity. So, I want to leave you, the listener, with a final thought to mull over as you step back into your day. Take a hard look at your own life.
Yeah, look at the specifics.
Look at the specific spaces, the relationships, or the environments where you feel a distinct lack of respect, where you feel like you are not being treated with the dignity you deserve. Ask yourself honestly about the mechanics of your own behavior in those spaces.
Are you exhausting yourself chasing status?
Exactly. Are you acting like the cruel official or the weak president from the text, relying on a title or a hierarchy, just hoping for a hollow bow? Are you hoping that squabbling or demanding will suddenly trigger the emotion of respect in the people around you?
It never does.
No, it never does. What if, instead, you stopped worrying about their external validation entirely and focused purely on cultivating your own internal immunity? Look at your daily life and ask yourself, what is the equivalent of growing vegetables well for me?
Yeah, love that.
What is the specific skill, the craft, or the service that I could master with such undeniable, meticulous competence that it builds a quiet, unshakable dignity? A dignity that no title can grant and no insult can ever touch.
It shifts the entirety of a person's energy away from outward demand and redirects it toward inward development.
It puts the locus of control entirely back in your hands. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. We love unpacking the mechanics of these complex ideas with you, finding the unexpected connections, and hopefully leaving you with a sharper lens to view the world through. Until next time, keep learning, keep practicing, and go grow those vegetables well.